Jocko Willink. Good evening, Echo.
Good evening.
They asked us to take off our headscarves and loosen any buttons to reveal our chests. That courtyard became the marketplace where ISIS men came and chose girls they liked, though they first sent all the older women to another place and the women with babies and other children to another place. We do not know the whereabouts of these women, and that includes my mother and my sisters. I had my period that night, but no matter how much I told him I have my period, he did not believe me. He ordered me to strip naked in his room. Then he stuck his finger in my vagina and saw that I was indeed bleeding. Only then did he believe. But that did not mean he left me alone. Instead, he put the air conditioner on a really high volume, said that I am to sit still in my nudity the whole night, and he molested me throughout the night. By the time morning arrived, I was frozen both physically and psychologically. Nothing mattered after that point. I didn't know I had not seen the worst of it yet. He would put on horrible sexual movies and would do all kinds of things to me. They all had long hair and long beards. But the worst of all is their smell. I've never smelled such awful smell in my life. They do not bathe. They feel more like beasts than human. Only Yazidi women are taken as slaves. Shia women, they burn alive. We saw one Shia woman burned alive in front of us. Christian women, they leave on the condition that their family must pay a fee for ISIS for being Christian in ISIS territories. And Sunni women are left alone as long as they follow ISIS orders. If they don't, they are whipped and tortured. Some of them are the wives of our captors. Some of the wives were as helpless as we were, and some were very mean women who encouraged their men to rape us. As long as a girl has some breast, she is considered a woman, and that entitles them to rape her. Some girls are as young as 10 and 11 years old. I have no past and no future at the moment. I am stuck in my anger and pain at what ISIS did to my family, my community, and myself. I have a new behavior that I can't stop, including washing my mouth over and over again. There are nights I wake up more than one time to wash my mouth as I remember what they did to me and how they forced themselves on me. I am a dead person now. I have no life. I only hope that my mother comes back from capture so my life can resume. So those are excerpts from an article that was in the New York Times by Zainab Salbi. And the quotes are from Layla, which is a pseudonym, who was a Yazidi woman captured by ISIS and obviously kept as a slave. And she eventually escaped and gave that interview in a camp in Erbil, which is in northern Iraq, which at the time was an Iraqi government-controlled city. And I would say this, if you think that evil does not exist in the world, you are wrong. It does. And it's not just individuals scattered around. These are groups of supposed human beings that are systematically implementing heinous and evil acts on totally innocent people. And I have obviously talked about evil before on this podcast. 20 years ago during the genocide in Rwanda. 50 years ago in Vietnam during the My Lai massacre. 75 years ago in Nazi Germany. 80 years ago in Nanking.
If you look just at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. No. If you look just at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. No. The reason why it's haram to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old is not found in the Quran at all. If you just read the Quran, it is halal, it would be halal to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old. Chapter 65, verse 4. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us who you can divorce and who you cannot divorce. And then he says, وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِدْنَ, and the ones who had never been pubescent before. And by the way, this is very important, yeah? I want all Muslims to be aware of this. The reason why we don't have sexual intercourse with 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds or whatever is not because of puberty. Wait a minute, what did you say? Wait a minute, what did you say? It's not because of puberty, because that verse in the Quran actually says lam yahid. They never had puberty before. You can't go around that. The Quran doesn't say anywhere in the Quran that the woman has to be pubescent. I dare you to find one verse in the Quran where it says you're not allowed to marry someone based on harm, or you're not allowed to have sexual intercourse based on harm, or you're not allowed to marry someone based on puberty. Get me one verse in the Quran which says the woman has to be pubescent. You know, in the Quran it says حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمْ أُمَّهَاتُكُمْ. It says you're not allowed to marry your mum. It says you're not allowed to marry your sister or your auntie. Where does it say you're not allowed to marry a prepubescent? I'm looking for one verse that you can say, you pinpoint it and say this is where it says prepubescent marriage or whatever is not allowed. So if you're Quran alone, you're steered towards pedophilia, and a severe type of pedophilia. Wait a minute, what did you say? A wife abuse, a severe type of wife abuse. Wait a minute, what did you say?
But when I'm going to actually respond with arguments, I'll just respond to this wife beating. You know, simple question, Haris. Do you believe women should be subject to laws? If you do believe that women should be subject to laws, then that means you believe women should be subject to all kinds of violence, including being beaten, jailed, even executed.
Wait a minute, what did you say?
That's what it means to be subject to the law. So there really is no difference between Islam on quote unquote wife beating and human rights. Both human rights are in 100% agreement that women are accountable if they break the law. And that means Islam and human rights are in 100% agreement that women should be beaten. We only differ on who should do the beating. You say only the state can punish women. Islam says no. Power should be distributed across kinship groups. And this means that the patriarch has authority to physically discipline members of his family, including his wives, if they violate important norms and values. Women, if you violate the law, shouldn't you face consequences? And if you have to face consequences, who would you rather mete out those consequences? The cold iron fist of the bureaucratic, technocratic state, or the person who loves you the most in the whole world? Look, let me put it like this. Is it possible to run a corporation without the possibility of physical discipline? No. You have to give managers in these corporations the right to beat their employees. How do you beat your employees? Well, if the employee violates the norms of the workplace, they get fired. And if they do not voluntarily comply, security will be called to remove them by force. Managers have to have the right to beat their employees. Patriarchy is hardwired.
Sisters who love their sisters, feminist sisters who love their sisters, who will die for their sisters, will take a bullet for their sisters, but will not share their husbands for their sisters.
Wait a minute, what did you say?
You can lie to your spouse. You can lie to your spouse.
So can they lie in the context of, for example, if one says, I sense that you've got a second wife, Can he say no? I don't.
Yes, you can. You can say that.
You can say that.
Yes, I personally believe this is.
White lies.
It doesn't have to be white. It can be a black lie. If someone does this and they get caught, for example, or something happens, or
or she just asks him, "Where were you last night?"
Yeah, but even that, he can lie. The man can do it. It's up to the man. No woman can take that right man away from the man.
Okay.
Aside from Islam, I think my integrity, my dignity, my, who I am as a person, I would think it's so disrespectful for my husband to go and marry somebody else secretly. That to me is cheating, even if it is fine. Islamically correct.
This idea of aside Islam, we're Muslims. There is no aside Islam in this discussion. I'm speaking to a Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no aside Islam here. The true religion, which I'm now expected as a Muslim man to follow, is not the religion of Islam. It's the religion of women's feelings. I'm not going to do this. So I'm saying now we go back to the book and the sunnah.
What exactly is a secret marriage? It is not made public. It's not publicized.
So the point is this, let me be real, yeah? If you got a good husband, he comes and he says, I want a second wife, all hell breaks loose. And then we blame this man. Yeah, but why are you keeping it secret? What else should he do?
And so they perform the marriage in somebody's house and there are two witnesses present and nobody knows about this.
When the Prophet, he kept a secret from some of his wives. Yeah. Some scholars, I'm not going to go into detail, but some scholars actually connect this with an incident with Maria the Copt. Lying is not allowed except for three things. One of them is hadith al-rajul limra'ati, that when a man speaks to his wife.
And I take my selfish needs out of it, i.e. me wanting him all to myself. I need to understand them. So I need to sit down and I need to really think about how this is going to affect him.
This is a test to see how Allah is testing her to see how she responds. Yeah. If she decides to do the opposite, which is, throw the divorce card or throw this card, then ultimately she's falling into the act of disobedience
Thank you.
family.
This is, with all due respect, I'm like your father. Huh? If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. If you are not a man enough to get married to a second woman, don't even dream about it, because your first will come in your dreams and give you hell. This is a well-known fact. They have the power to get into your dreams.
Islamically, there is no problem in a man getting married to another woman in Misyar without the first wife's knowledge. There's actually, I've not seen one solitary difference of opinion in any of the 14 generations of Islam. It's not there.
Which is?
Any scholar saying that no, a woman needs to know, she needs to tell her, doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's it.
We're talking about the religion of Islam.
That none of you guys are okay with your husbands getting a second wife. Can I just quickly get that out of the way? Sister Swad.
Absolutely not.
You're not okay with it? Yeah. Listen, sister.
It's a no from me. And if you have anything to say it now.
She's threatening it.
You're finished.
Yeah.
Sister Amira?
Yeah, no.
No? Sister Tyra?
And I won't be happy with it.
Sisters are under the impression that there is a man out there that is not polygamous. Because you guys are monogamous by nature, meaning you just want your husband and you're happy with your husband. We are not created like that.
And then he's got the financial thing where he can reduce, he can, if she's being bad, he can take money away from her. This can be seen in this country as abuse. So if she has evidence of that and she's got the state backing, if he tries to impose his masculinity or his Islamic abilities on her, then she can respond in a malicious manner. Which is why I would say that if a woman shows her claws in that way, this is an option of secret, second, whatever you want to call it. I think it becomes a very legitimate.
Now, what is this word, taqiyya? The word taqiyya literally means something that is not clear, something that is vague, unclear, ambiguous, or talking in such a way. It's not outright lying or falsehood, but at the same time it is disguising in such a way or lying to the person for the better understanding of saving your faith. That taqiyya is lying. So you won't give a straight up answer and you would lie to me because you want to hide the truth or you want to disguise the truth so that I can be attracted to Islam because of your taqiyya. Another is that taqiyya, you would do that in order to save yourself or save yourself from persecution, faith in your religion to other people. For example, one of that instance is about, it's not really lying, but it is like being jolly to the person so that you don't break their heart. And one of that instance is about a spouse, a husband talking to their wife. For example, if the wife says, how's the food today? How's my cooking? And even if it's bad, you can say to them it's fine, just to keep their heart and not to break their heart. So this concept and this hadith is used by the non-Muslims to attack Islam by saying that, oh, you are justifying lying. But that's not the case, because they do not understand the context and the wisdom and the hikmah in which Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, was advising that. And that is only a one-off incident, a one-off thing in that specific domain that is allowed. But the general ruling is we have to look at all the other hadiths of Rasulullah, all the other narrations of the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, where he has emphasized and stressed on speaking the truth. And he informed Muslims cannot be untruthful or false person or lying person. In fact, the Quran also tells us that, oh, you believe, speak the truth or be with the truthful. So Allah does not like people who lie. So Allah does not like people who lie.
The lying is not allowed except for three things. One of them is hadith al-rajul limra'ati, that when a man speaks to his wife.
Lying. So there is no such thing as taqiyya in Islam. And whoever accuses Muslims or Islam with that is themselves lying.
The Prophet said you can do it.
In Islam, there is only one thing, and that is the truth and the truthfulness and the honesty and straightforwardness to people. So Muslims are obligated to speak the truth and only be truthful to others and not to lie anyone. And there's no such thing as taqiyya in Islam whatsoever.
The lying is not allowed except for three things.
There's no such thing as taqiyya in Islam whatsoever.
You can lie to your spouse. You can lie to your spouse.
So can they lie in the context of, for example, if one says, "Oh, I sense that you've got a second wife," can he say, "No, I don't"?
Yes, you can. You can say that.
You can say that.
Yes, I personally believe this is. The Prophet said you can do it.
White lies?
It doesn't have to be white. It can be a black lie.
There's no such thing as taqiyya in Islam whatsoever.
Aside from Islam, I think